is Valley News Live at 4.
Happening right now, Fargo police say they need your help. Good afternoon, everyone. Fargo police just began a presentation about the city's wildlife management program, and they're looking for input from the public. They're hoping to find suggestions and possible solutions to deal with limited police resources, population growth, and increased traffic in recreational areas. Valley News Team's JC Dodd is there, and we'll have more information for you throughout the evening. Now to a couple stories we've been following out of Bemidji. Police are searching for a man believed to be armed and dangerous who they say shot a gun at someone, then jumped out of a second-story window. It happened overnight at an apartment complex northeast of Paul Bunyan Mall. The victim told police he was standing in a hallway when the suspect came up to him, pulled out a gun, and demanded money. He didn't hand over any cash, so the suspect shot him and ran off. Police identified the suspect as Robert Needham Jr. They say he jumped out of a second-story window and ran away. They still haven't found him. Needham is described as a Native American man, about 5'10" and 170 pounds. He was last seen wearing a white t-shirt and black sweatpants. If you see him, call 911. Bemidji police are also looking for a driver who hit a teenager riding a bike overnight and then took off. Officers found a 17-year-old who told them he was riding his bike on Park Avenue Northwest near 20th Street and was hit by a dark-colored SUV. He thought maybe it was a Chevy Tahoe or Cadillac Escalade. The boy was taken to Sanford and Bemidji before being rushed to a trauma center in Fargo. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the Bemidji police at the number on your screen. Now here's Hutch with a first look at your forecast. Hutch?
Stacy, thanks so much, and good late afternoon, everyone. We only have a weather woe of a couple of fair weather cumulus clouds drifting overhead, as shown here on the Grand Forks Home of Economy camera. Temperatures are warmer to the west, where we do have a few 80s in places like Jamestown, Langdon, and Hallock. Central parts of North Dakota heating up to well above average for this time of year, and we have temperatures that are in those comfortable low to mid 70s for most in western and northwestern Minnesota. From Lake of the Woods right through the big Lake Superior area, passing clouds and showers. But for us, high and dry, temperatures comfortable, 70s, and we'll sneak down in the 60s tonight. Similarly, Grand Forks, a very quiet night. Get out and enjoy, because tomorrow we have heat, high heat, and we have a chance for some passing storms. Not all of us will see them, but I'll have details on when and where the best chance of storms will be here, Stacy, in just a few more moments.
All right, thanks so much, Hutch. 10 years ago today, the sirens went off across Minot, warning of flooding. It's something that changed the community forever. When the floodwaters started rising, the city called for help. Among those that responded were the North Dakota National Guard. The flood response in 2011 is the North Dakota Guard's second longest mission. They've helped communities across the state survive flooding, whether they were patrolling the levees for leaks or filling and placing sandbags.
If we hadn't had the National Guard, there would have been a lot of people that would have lost a lot more property. So I'm glad for our National Guard people.
The Guard is just one of the organizations lending a helping hand. Within months of that flood, authorities throughout the region were already working on protection projects to stop another event like that one. Minot flood protection was started within a year of the 2011 disaster, and every year it goes a little farther. The projects include levees and a flood wall running along the river through the middle of town. Minot's Public Works Director says they made good progress, but they could be further along with more funding. He estimates it could take another 20 years to complete the projects at the current funding levels.
Projects of this magnitude take time. You know, you look at the Grand Forks Flood Control Project, you know, that took them over 14 years.
When all is said and done, the total cost is estimated at more than $1 billion. About $350 million has been spent so far. Officers with the Minneapolis Police Department and the University of Minnesota will begin patrolling the Dinkytown area near the university in an effort to curb violent crime. Home to numerous restaurants, bars, entertainment venues, and apartments, it's a popular spot for students, but crime near campus has surged. 5 people were shot Friday after an altercation outside Blarney Pub and Grill. The Star Tribune reports that last month there were 15 robberies, 15 car thefts, and 11 aggravated assaults reported in the Dinkytown area. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is requesting funding to pay for body cameras for state patrol troopers and Capitol officers. The $7.5 million for the cameras is part of a transportation funding package that could come up for a vote later this week. The bill also includes funding to add nearly 24 state troopers and a dozen additional Capitol security officers. During their annual party meeting, North Dakota's Republicans changed up their leadership. Chairman Rick Berg stepped down from his position, choosing not to run for re-election after 3 years on the job. Mandan businessman Perry Schaefer is the new GOP district chairman. In a statement, Schaefer thanked Berg for his leadership, adding, "We must be vigilant in building the NDGOP to keep our proven record of conservative leadership strong at the local, state, and national level." In addition to that change at the top, the GOP also replaced 4 key leadership positions. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is bringing a voting rights bill to the floor today, even though it won't get the 60 votes needed to clear a procedural filibuster to start debate on the legislation. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill.
It takes 60 votes to start that debate.
Senator Chuck Schumer says he's pushing forward with the voting rights bill, even though Republicans plan to block it.
They don't want to talk about it. They want to sweep it under the rug and hope that Americans don't hear about it. But Americans will hear about it.
Among the provisions in the bill, the For the People Act would create a national automatic system for registering voters and establish national standards for mail-in and absentee ballots.
It's the latest version of the so-called For the People Act, which is a massive takeover, federal takeover of election law.
Democrats say it's necessary to combat new restrictive voting laws passed in Republican-controlled states.
Republican legislatures are making it harder to vote early, harder to vote by mail, harder to vote after work.
Republicans remain unanimously opposed to the federal legislation.
Today, the Senate's going to fulfill our founding purpose, stop the partisan power grab, and reject S1.
Senator Joe Manchin also previously expressed his opposition to the bill. The West Virginia Democrat met with President Biden about it yesterday.
The president expressed how important this bill is to him.
This will be a fight of his presidency.
Manchin has offered a compromise that has won the support of former President Barack Obama and voting rights advocate Stacey Abrams, but not Republicans. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The White House press secretary says the failure to begin debate on the voting rights bill in the Senate could prompt a new debate among lawmakers about whether there needs to be changes to the filibuster rule in the Senate. COVID-19 is blamed for a surge in deaths among Medicare patients in nursing homes. Those deaths increased by 32% last year, according to a new report from the Department of Health and Human Services. The report finds about 40% of Medicare recipients in nursing homes had or likely had COVID last year, recording nearly 170,000 more deaths than the year before. Investigators did not examine individual death certificates for the Medicare patients, instead comparing the overall deaths among those in nursing homes to the previous year's numbers. Health officials say active cases of COVID-19 in North Dakota have declined for 10 consecutive days and are at a level not seen since the early days of the pandemic. Active cases statewide today are 212. Reported active cases in the state peaked last November at more than 11,000. Since the onset of the pandemic, there have been more than 110,000 confirmed cases in North Dakota and more than 108,000 people have recovered. The Department of Health reports roughly 1,500 deaths and 4,300 hospitalizations. A young Fargo man pours his heart into his job as a grocery bagger at the Osgood Hornbachers and has left a lasting impression throughout his 11 years. What was supposed to be an online hiring ad starring Miles Frost ended with nearly 600 comments and dozens of shares, with people from all over the valley sharing their praise for Frost's friendly personality and famous fist bumps. Valley News Team's Bailey Hurley spent the day with Frost. You can catch his story tonight on Valley News Live at 6. One of Australia's major tourist attractions may be in trouble. Next, we'll tell you why leaders are working so hard to keep it off the in danger list.
Our temperatures today still climbing, but many of us spending it in the 70s to near 80 degrees in our northern and western counties. Tomorrow, the heat is on, and it'll bring a chance of a few storms that could be strong and possibly even severe. I'll have the latest on the track and timing and how warm we get coming up right after this.